Have you ever seen a moment so heartbreaking, a broken bar, that it forces you to stop, breathe, and rethink everything you ever believed about people? If you haven't, stay with me till the end because this story will shake your heart. And if you feel something while listening, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel so these real human stories can reach more people who need hope. The wind was cruel that morning, sweeping across the silent cemetery as if trying to whisper the things people could never say aloud. Eleanor Hayes, one of the richest women in the country, stood quietly in front of a small marble gravestone. On it was carved the name she loved more than her own life: Lily Hayes, her only daughter, taken away at just 7 years old. Eleanor's fingers trembled as she laid down a bouquet of lilies, Lily's favorite. She visited the grave every week, but today felt heavier than usual, as if her heart had finally grown tired of pretending it was strong. She whispered softly, "Hi, baby, broken bar, mommy's here." But as she leaned down, she heard something unusual: soft crying, desperate, broken, not far from her daughter's grave. She stiffened. No one ever came this early. The cemetery was usually empty except for the gardener and the birds. But today, someone's grief was echoing through the silence like a painful secret being exposed. Slowly, Eleanor followed the sound, and then she froze. A janitor dressed in worn-out overalls, his hands rough, his shoes muddy, was kneeling by a gravestone a few rows away. Beside him stood a tiny girl, no more than 5, with big teary eyes clutching his sleeve. The man was sobbing uncontrollably, his shoulders shaking, his forehead pressed against the cold stone. The little girl reached up and wiped his tears with her small fingers. "Daddy, broken bar, please don't cry. Mommy said she's watching us from the sky." Eleanor's heart nearly stopped. The janitor whispered, "I know, sweetheart, but I miss her. I miss her so much." The little girl hugged him tightly, and the man broke even further. Eleanor knew this level of pain. It was the same kind that lived inside her chest every day. She didn't mean to stare, but the girl suddenly noticed her. Their eyes met, innocent brown eyes looking up at a billionaire who felt more fragile than she looked. The janitor wiped his face and stood up quickly, embarrassed to have been seen. "Yeah, I'm sorry, ma'am," he said, voice shaking. "I'll get back to work. Didn't mean to disturb your visit." Eleanor shook her head. "You didn't disturb anything." Her voice felt softer, more vulnerable. "Whose gravy a broken bar?" She couldn't finish the question. The janitor swallowed hard. "My wife. She passed away last year. Cancer." He tried to smile but failed. "I bring my daughter here when I can. She thinks her mom gets lonely." The little girl looked at him and nodded. "She told me in my dream she misses our hugs." Something inside Eleanor cracked wide open. She knelt down and met the little girl's eyes. "What's your name, sweetheart?" "Amelia," the girl whispered, sniffling. "That's a beautiful name," Eleanor said. The janitor gave a small nod. "I'm David." There was a moment of heavy silence. Three souls connected not by wealth or status, but by shared loss. Eleanor asked gently, "David, a broken bar, do you come here every day?" He hesitated. "Only when I can afford the bus. Some days I walk an hour to get here." He looked down, ashamed. "I don't have a car anymore. Sold it to pay the medical bills." Eleanor felt as if someone had reached into her heart and squeezed it. "Does anyone help you?" she asked. David shook his head. "I work extra shifts as a janitor, but mostly it's just me and Amelia." He placed a hand on his daughter's head. "I promised my wife I'd take care of her, but some days a broken bar, I don't know if I'm enough." Amelia tugged on his sleeve again. "Daddy, you're enough for me." The man broke again, pulling her into his arms, and for the first time in years a broken bar, Eleanor felt her own tears slipping down her face. She knew that pain, she knew that helplessness, and she also knew what it felt like to have everything: money, power, family, but still feel like you had absolutely nothing left. "David," she said softly, "I think your wife would be proud, very proud." He looked at her, surprised. No one ever said things like that to him. Eleanor continued, voice trembling with sincerity, "If you ever a broken bar need anything at all, please don't be afraid to ask." He shook his head immediately. "Yeah, I couldn't. You're broken bar, you're someone important." Eleanor stared at him for a long moment before saying the most honest words she had spoken in years. "I'm not important. she whispered. I'm just a mother broken bar who lost her child. And today, you reminded me what love looks like again. David didn't know what to say, but something in Amelia's eyes softened, as if she understood everything adults never say out loud. The little girl suddenly reached out, touched Eleanor's hand, and whispered, "Do you want a hug?" Mommy said hugs fix broken hearts. Eleanor gasped, slowly, almost hesitantly, as she leaned forward and hugged the tiny girl. And in that single moment of broken bar, something in her grief shifted, like a window finally opening after years of darkness. The next hour passed quietly as the three of them stood between two graves of two lives lost, and three lives finding each other in the ruins. When it was time to leave, David bowed slightly. "Thank you for being kind, ma'am." Eleanor looked at him and shook her head. "No, a broken bar, thank you for reminding me that even in pain, there is still love." And that was supposed to be the end, but it wasn't. The next morning, a black car pulled up near the cemetery. David thought it was a mistake until Eleanor stepped out, holding Amelia's favorite flowers in one hand and a small lunchbox in the other. "I figured you might need a ride today," she said with a gentle smile. David stared at her, speechless. Over the next weeks, a strange and beautiful routine formed. Eleanor picked them up every Friday. They talked, they visited their loved ones, they healed together. Slowly, a broken bar, carefully, a broken bar. The billionaire who had everything except love, and the janitor who had nothing except love, became the support each other desperately needed.